Have you ever felt that your life is a sequence of trials, as if each stage were a test, sometimes so hard that it seems only those with a special calling can endure? Well, know this: these trials are not punishments. They are divine tools, designed to shape those who have been chosen for something greater. In the grand tapestry of existence, certain souls are marked for extraordinary purposes. These individuals often find themselves facing challenges that seem beyond human capacity to bear. Yet it is precisely through these trials that their divine purpose is revealed and their spiritual strength is forged. The journey of the chosen ones is not a path of comfort, but rather a sacred pilgrimage of transformation. Throughout history, we see examples of individuals who faced seemingly insurmountable trials. Moses in the wilderness, Job in his suffering, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Their stories remind us that being chosen by God often means being prepared through intense spiritual refinement. Today, many of us are experiencing similar tests, though perhaps in more subtle, modern contexts. As we explore these 10 profound spiritual tests, remember that each challenge serves a divine purpose. These trials are not random occurrences, but carefully orchestrated opportunities for growth and transformation. They are the chisel in the hands of the divine sculptor, carefully shaping us into vessels worthy of our calling. Test 1. Self-discovery, the confrontation with your true self. The journey begins with perhaps the most fundamental challenge, facing yourself in complete honesty. This test often arrives disguised as a series of life events that strip away our carefully constructed facades, forcing us to confront who we truly are beneath the masks we wear. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not just your physical appearance, but every thought, intention, and hidden motivation. This spiritual mirror shows you both your divine potential and your human limitations. It's a confrontation that many avoid their entire lives, but for the chosen ones it becomes an unavoidable rite of passage. This test often manifests in various ways: sudden life changes that challenge your identity, relationships that expose your genuine character, professional situations that reveal your true values, personal crises that strip away pretenses, moments of clarity that illuminate your authentic self. During this phase, you might find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. The roles you've played, the beliefs you've held, and the image you've projected to the world all come under scrutiny. It's common to experience deep emotional upheaval, questioning of long-held beliefs, recognition of patterns and behaviors you've been blind to, uncomfortable truths about your motivations, the pain of seeing your own limitations. Yet, this confrontation is not meant to destroy, but to heal. As one chosen soul described it, it felt like being broken into 1,000 pieces, only to discover that some of those pieces weren't really mine to begin with. The rebuilding process revealed my true self, both more flawed and more beautiful than I had imagined. The key to passing this test lies not in achieving perfection, but in embracing truth. The chosen ones learn to acknowledge their shadows while recognizing their divine essence. This paradoxical acceptance becomes the foundation for authentic spiritual growth. Test 2. Isolation. Learning to hear God's voice in the silence of the soul. Following the confrontation with self comes a period of profound isolation. This isn't merely physical solitude, though that may be part of it. This is a spiritual isolation where familiar voices fade away and you're left alone with God in the depths of your soul. This test often arrives when you seem to be at your busiest or most connected. Suddenly, despite being surrounded by people, you feel a deep, inexplicable loneliness. It's as if you're speaking a language no one else understands. This isolation serves a crucial purpose. It creates the space necessary to hear God's voice with clarity. The manifestations of this spiritual isolation include feeling misunderstood by those closest to you, a sense of being different or set apart, difficulty finding others who share your spiritual depth, periods of necessary solitude, the fading of once meaningful relationships. During this phase, many chosen ones experience what feels like a divine silence. It's as if God steps back, allowing you to feel the full weight of aloneness. This silence, however, is not absence, it's preparation. Just as a musician needs silence to tune their instrument, your soul requires this quiet to align with divine frequencies. The isolation test often involves learning to distinguish God's voice from other influences, developing spiritual discernment, finding comfort in solitude, building internal strength, deepening your personal relationship with the divine. One of the most challenging aspects of this test is resisting the urge to fill the silence. Modern life offers countless distractions, social media, entertainment, busy schedules, but the chosen ones learn to embrace the quiet. In these moments of sacred solitude, the deepest spiritual truths are revealed. A seasoned spiritual mentor once shared, "The isolation period is like being in God's waiting room. It feels like nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is being prepared." Your spiritual ears are being tuned to frequencies you couldn't hear before. The isolation test teaches crucial lessons. True strength comes from within. Divine guidance often comes in whispers. Loneliness can be a gateway to deeper communion with God. External validation is unnecessary for spiritual truth. Authentic connection with others flows from a strong connection with God. To pass this test, the chosen ones must learn to find comfort in divine companionship, even when human companionship seems distant or insufficient. They discover that what appeared to be isolation was actually an invitation to intimate communion with the divine. Perhaps one of the most challenging spiritual tests is the art of letting go. This test comes when we've accumulated so much emotional, mental, and spiritual baggage that our souls can no longer ascend to higher realms without releasing these burdens. For the chosen ones, this process of release is particularly intense because it often involves surrendering things that seem essential to our very identity. The process of letting go manifests in multiple dimensions: material detachment, releasing attachment to possessions, understanding that true wealth is spiritual, learning to live simply and purposefully, recognizing that everything is temporary, finding freedom in having less emotional release, forgiving deep wounds, releasing toxic relationships, letting go of old dreams that no longer serve divine purpose, surrendering control over outcomes, releasing emotional dependencies, spiritual surrender, abandoning religious rigidity, releasing spiritual pride, letting go of limiting beliefs about God, surrendering preconceived notions about your spiritual journey, releasing the need to understand everything. This test often arrives through situations that force us to confront our attachments. A job loss might teach detachment from career identity. A relationship ending might reveal emotional dependencies. Health challenges might show us the impermanence of physical comfort. Through each scenario, the chosen ones learn that true freedom comes through release, not acquisition. One particularly challenging aspect of this test is the release of resentments. Many chosen ones carry deep wounds from their past: betrayals, rejections, failures, and disappointments. These resentments often feel justified, making them particularly difficult to release. Yet holding on to them is like trying to fly while carrying heavy stones. A powerful testimony from someone who passed this test shares, "I thought my resentments were protecting me, keeping me safe from being hurt again, but they were actually prison walls, keeping me from experiencing God's full purpose for my life. When I finally let them go, it felt like breathing freely for the first time." The process of letting go typically follows these stages: recognition, becoming aware of what needs to be released; resistance, fighting against the need to let go; resignation, accepting the necessity of release, actually letting go; renewal, experiencing the freedom and lightness that follows. Test 4. The dark night of the soul, the journey through internal darkness where God does his deepest work. This test is perhaps the most intense and transformative of all spiritual trials. The dark night of the soul, a term coined by St. John of the Cross, describes a period of profound spiritual darkness where all previous understanding of God seems to vanish, leaving the soul in apparent desolation. This spiritual winter arrives without warning, and often when the chosen one seems to be at their spiritual peak. It's as if all the lights go out at once. Prayer feels empty, Scripture seems lifeless, and God feels impossibly distant. This experience goes beyond mere depression or emotional downturn. It's a complete spiritual dismantling. The dark night typically involves spiritual disorientation, loss of previous spiritual consolations, questioning of fundamental beliefs, feeling abandoned by God, inability to pray or connect spiritually, Deep existential questioning, emotional upheaval, profound sense of loneliness, feelings of worthlessness, spiritual depression, overwhelming doubt, intense inner conflict, physical manifestations. Sleep. Unlike other spiritual trials where the lesson is somewhat clear, the dark night seems to serve no immediate purpose. It's only in retrospect that its profound importance becomes clear. During this phase, many chosen ones experience what feels like a complete dismantling of their spiritual understanding. Everything they thought they knew about God, faith, and spirituality is questioned. The dark night typically progresses through several stages. The initial descent, sudden loss of spiritual comfort, confusion and disorientation, attempts to recover previous spiritual experiences, the void, acceptance of the darkness, deeper questioning, surrender of old paradigms, the transformation, subtle inner changes, new understanding emerging, deeper trust, developing, the dawn gradual return of light. This dismantling serves a crucial purpose. It creates space for a more authentic and mature spirituality to emerge. It's God's most intimate work in the soul. Key lessons from the dark night include: true faith transcends feelings and experiences. God's presence isn't dependent on our perception of it. Spiritual maturity comes through testing. Authentication of faith happens in darkness. Divine love operates beyond our understanding. The dark night serves as a profound purification process. It strips away all artificial spiritual experiences, leaving only naked faith. The chosen ones emerge from this test with a faith that's no longer dependent on feelings, experiences, or understanding. They learn to trust God simply because He is God, not because of what He does or how He makes them feel. This test represents a fundamental shift in how the chosen ones relate to divine guidance. Unlike basic religious faith, this is a profound trial of trusting in God's purpose when everything visible contradicts that trust. It's one thing to believe when the path is clear. It's entirely another to maintain faith when standing at the edge of an apparent abyss. The faith test manifests in several distinct challenges: invisible pathways, following divine guidance without visible confirmation, making decisions that seem illogical to others, continuing forward when all signs point to failure, believing in promises that seem impossible, maintaining hope when circumstances suggest hopelessness, professional challenges, leaving secure positions for uncertain, starting ventures with no visible means of support, making ethical choices that could cost everything, standing firm in principles despite opposition, building something that others can't yet see, personal trials, maintaining relationships that require supernatural patience, believing for healing when symptoms worsen, trusting God's timing in life's major decisions, standing alone in faith-based choices, persisting in prayer despite apparent silence. This test often arrives when you're at a crucial crossroads where the logical choice conflicts with your spiritual leading. The chosen ones frequently find themselves in situations where they must choose between what makes sense to the natural mind and what the Spirit is directing. A remarkable aspect of this test is its compound nature. It often comes in waves. Wave 1. Initial challenge. Clear spiritual direction received. Obvious obstacles present. Initial step of faith required. Wave 2. Extended testing. Delayed manifestation. Increasing opposition. Sustained faith needed. Wave 3. Maximum pressure. Apparent failure of the promise. Peak of external resistance. Ultimate faith. Yet each setback actually strengthened my faith, teaching me to trust not in the visible results, but in the one who gave the promise. Key elements of passing the faith test: anchoring in the word-building faith through Scripture, finding historical precedents, claiming specific promises, developing spiritual vision, seeing beyond natural circumstances, maintaining focus on divine purpose, understanding, spiritual timing, building faith community, finding support among believers, sharing testimonies of faith, creating accountability relationships, practicing active faith, taking practical steps of obedience, preparing for promise, fulfillment, living as if the promise is already fulfilled. Test 6, surrender, releasing control and trusting God's guidance in every step. The surrender test might seem similar, to letting go, but it operates at a deeper level. What I didn't expect was the years of apparent failure, the loss of supporters, and the constant temptation to quit. While letting go deals with releasing past attachments, surrender focuses on yielding future control. This test challenges the very core of human nature, our desire to direct our own destiny. The surrender test appears in various forms: divine timing, accepting God's schedule instead of our own, waiting for divine doors to open, trusting the process of spiritual development, allowing relationships to develop naturally, surrendering personal timelines, direction changes, accepting unexpected path alterations, embracing divine interruptions, following guidance that doesn't make sense, allowing plans to be completely revised, accepting new assignments without full understanding, personal will, surrendering cherished dreams, accepting divine no's, embracing unwanted circumstances, yielding personal preferences, accepting divine methods. This test often manifests when we're most confident in our plans and directions. Just when we think we have everything figured out, God introduces a complete paradigm shift. The chosen ones learn that true surrender isn't a one-time event, but a continuous process of yielding. The levels of surrender: surface surrender, outward compliance, intellectual agreement; temporary yielding, heart surrender; emotional acceptance, willing participation; genuine release, identity; surrender, complete trust, total alignment, joyful submission. A spiritual mentor described it this way: surrender isn't about losing yourself, it's about finding yourself in God's perfect plan. Every time I surrendered what I thought was essential to my happiness, I discovered something far better in God's design. The process of divine surrender. Phase 1. Recognition. Identifying areas of control, understanding divine invitation, recognizing resistance. Phase 2. Release conscious choice to yield practical steps of surrender, letting go of outcomes. Phase 3. Realignment. Adjusting to new form of spiritual strength. It's not about becoming passive, but about actively aligning with divine purpose. Through this test, they discover that God's control is far better than their own, leading to a life of supernatural peace and power. The test of acceptance challenges the chosen ones to embrace divine wisdom over personal understanding. This trial goes beyond mere resignation to circumstances. It's about cultivating a profound appreciation for God's superior plan, even when it differs drastically from our own expectations. The acceptance test manifests in several key areas: life trajectory, embracing unexpected career paths, accepting changes in personal relationships, understanding delayed or altered dreams, recognizing divine purpose in seeming setbacks, appreciating the journey as much as the destination, personal limitations, accepting our human frailties, understanding our need for divine grace, recognizing the beauty in our imperfections, embracing our unique design, including perceived flaws, accepting seasons of growth and learning, divine mysteries, accepting that we can't understand everything, embracing the paradoxes of faith, finding peace in unanswered questions, accepting God's timing and methods, understanding that some truths are beyond human comprehension. This test often arrives when life takes an unexpected turn, challenging our preconceived notions of how things should be. Stages of the acceptance journey: resistance, fighting against current reality, attempting to force personal plans, feeling frustrated with God's ways; resignation, grudging acceptance of circumstances, passive endurance of situations, intellectual acknowledgement of God's sovereignty; exploration, beginning to seek understanding, investigating potential benefits of current path, opening up to new possibilities; appreciation, recognizing divine wisdom in the plan, feeling grateful for God's guidance; experiencing joy in the unexpected journey; alignment, fully embracing God's plan, actively participating in the new direction, finding purpose in the divine design. One chosen individual shared their experience. "I spent years fighting God's plan for my life, convinced that my way was better." The chosen ones learn to see these moments not as disruptions, but as divine redirections. "It wasn't until I finally surrendered and accepted His path that I discovered a purpose far greater than anything I could have imagined. Now I'm thankful for every no that led me to his perfect yes. Key lessons in the acceptance test. God's perspective is infinitely broader than ours. What seems like a detour may be the main road. Our greatest growth often comes through unexpected channels. Divine denial is often divine protection. Acceptance opens doors that resistance keeps shut. The chosen ones learn that true acceptance isn't passive but deeply active. It's not about giving up, but about opening up to greater possibilities. Through this test, they develop a profound trust in divine wisdom, finding peace and purpose even in life's most unexpected turns. Test 8. Humility, recognizing that all strength comes from God, not ourselves. The humility test strikes at the core of human pride, challenging the chosen ones to recognize their complete dependence on God. This isn't about self-deprecation, but about aligning with divine truth, understanding that every good gift, every success, and every strength ultimately flows from the Creator. The humility test appears in various forms: success and achievement, recognizing God's role in personal accomplishments, giving credit to divine guidance in decision-making, acknowledging spiritual gifts as loans, not possessions, seeing opportunities as divine appointments, not personal rights, understanding that talents are meant for service, not self-glorification, weakness and failure, embracing personal limitations as opportunities for God's strength, finding grace in moments of inadequacy, learning from mistakes without self-condemnation, accepting help and guidance from others, viewing setbacks as chances for spiritual growth, relationships and influence, serving others without expectation of recognition, leading with a servant's heart, valuing every person as equal in God's eyes, willingness to learn from anyone regardless of status, using influence to elevate others, not self. This test often arrives at the peak of success or the depths of failure, both extremes that can challenge our understanding of where true strength comes from. Stages of the humility journey. Pride, taking personal credit for successes, hiding weaknesses and failures, seeking recognition and status. Brokenness, experiencing failure or inadequacy, recognizing personal limitations, feeling the weight of human frailty. Surrender, acknowledging need for divine strength, releasing control to God, embracing vulnerability, empowerment, experiencing God's strength in weakness, finding freedom in dependence on God, discovering true confidence in divine identity, elevation, being lifted up by God's grace, influencing others through servant leadership, reflecting divine glory rather than seeking personal fame. A spiritual leader shared, "The day I realized that my greatest strength was admitting my weakness to God was the day my ministry truly began." It's in our emptiness that we're truly filled with His power. Key aspects of true humility: strength through surrender, finding power in yielding to God, confidence without arrogance, security based on divine identity, not personal achievement, teachable spirit, always ready to learn and grow. Servant leadership, influencing through serving, not dominating. Gratitude, constant recognition of God's grace in all things. The humility test teaches the chosen ones that true greatness comes through submission to God. The chosen ones learn to navigate both with grace, always pointing back to the source. They learn that humility isn't thinking less of oneself, but thinking of oneself less, focusing instead on divine purpose and the needs of others. This test often brings unexpected blessings, deeper intimacy with God, authentic connections with others, freedom from the pressure of performance, increased spiritual authority, a profound sense of peace and purpose. Through the humility test, the chosen ones discover a paradoxical truth. In fully acknowledging their dependence on God, they find a strength and confidence far greater than any they could achieve on their own. This test challenges the chosen ones to embody the highest form of love, a love that mirrors God's own heart. It's a love that gives without condition, forgives without limit, and persists without reciprocation. This test often arrives through relationships and situations that push us beyond our natural capacity to love. The unconditional love test manifests in various spheres: family and close relationships, loving difficult family members, maintaining love through betrayal or disappointment, sacrificial care for aging parents or special needs, children, forgiving deep personal hurts, loving through seasons of emotional distance, community and society, loving those with differing beliefs or lifestyles, showing compassion to the marginalized or outcast, extending grace to those who persecute or misunderstand, loving enemies and praying for those who cause harm, serving without recognition or appreciation, self-love and divine love, accepting God's unconditional love for oneself, extending grace to oneself in times of failure, loving oneself as a reflection of God's image, allowing God's love to flow through, not from oneself, recognizing that true self-love enables love for others. This test often arrives through challenging relationships or situations that seem to demand more love than we possess. Stages of unconditional love, natural love, loving those who love us, conditional affection based on behavior, emotional and often self-serving, tested love, facing situations that challenge our capacity to love, realizing the limitations of human love, struggling with forgiveness and grace, broken love, reaching the end of personal love capacity, experiencing heartbreak or betrayal, feeling unable to continue loving, divine infusion, surrendering to God's love, experiencing supernatural ability to love, seeing others through God's eyes, unconditional outflow, loving without expectation of return, forgiving the unforgivable, persisting in love despite circumstances. A missionary shared, "I thought I knew what love was until I worked with people who could never repay me, some who even hated me for my beliefs." The chosen ones learn that this kind of love is not generated by human effort, but is a divine gift that flows through a surrendered heart. It was then that I discovered a love beyond my own, God's love flowing through me. It changed everything. Key aspects of unconditional love: forgiveness, releasing others from the debt of their actions; sacrifice, giving without expectation of return; persistence, loving despite lack of reciprocation; compassion, seeing the divine image in every person; grace, extending kindness to the undeserving as God does with us. This test teaches the chosen ones that true love is not They learn to tap into the infinite source of divine love, becoming channels of a love that can transform lives and communities. Test 10. Awakening, seeing God's purpose clearly in every detail of life. The final and perhaps most profound test is that of spiritual awakening. This is not a single moment, but a gradual and sometimes sudden shift in perception, where the chosen ones begin to see God's hand in every aspect of life. It's a spiritual enlightenment that transforms ordinary existence into a continuous encounter with the divine. The awakening test appears in various dimensions: everyday moments, recognizing divine messages in daily occurrences, seeing spiritual lessons in nature and creation, finding God's guidance in seemingly random events, experiencing worship in routine tasks, perceiving divine timing in life's rhythms, relationships and encounters, recognizing every person as a divine appointment, seeing Christ in the face of strangers, understanding relationships as opportunities for spiritual growth, perceiving God's lessons through human interactions, recognizing divine orchestration in chance meetings, personal journey, seeing past experiences through a lens of divine purpose, recognizing spiritual growth in challenges, understanding personal calling with clarity, perceiving life as a continuous dialogue with God, recognizing every thought and decision as spiritually significant. This test often comes after a period of intense spiritual training, sometimes following the darkest trials. Stages of spiritual awakening: ordinary perception, seeing life through purely human understanding; compartmentalizing spiritual life from everyday existence, missing divine signposts in daily life; glimpses of glory, occasional moments of spiritual clarity, beginning to question deeper meanings in events, sensing a greater purpose but not fully grasping it; spiritual sensitivity, increased awareness of God's presence, recognizing divine patterns in life events, experiencing more frequent God moments; awakened perception, seeing God's hand in everything, understanding life as a continuous spiritual journey, experiencing constant communion with the divine, enlightened living, navigating life with divine wisdom, inspiring others to spiritual awareness, living in a state of continuous worship and gratitude. A spiritual mentor described it. Awakening isn't about seeing different things, it's about seeing things differently. It's as if a veil is lifted, and the chosen ones begin to see the world with new eyes. Suddenly, every leaf, every conversation, every challenge becomes a message from God. Life becomes a living scripture. Key aspects of spiritual awakening: divine dialogue, perceiving life as ongoing communication with God; purposeful living, recognizing divine intention in every circumstance; spiritual senses, developing heightened awareness of the spiritual realm; continuous worship, finding sacred meaning in every moment; inspired action, living with clear understanding of divine guidance. This final test transforms the chosen ones into living testimonies of God's presence. They become bridges between the seen and unseen realms, inspiring others to awaken to the divine reality that permeates all of existence. Conclusion: these 10 tests are not easy, but each one is an opportunity to grow in faith, love, and wisdom. Remember, God doesn't choose the prepared, He prepares the chosen. Your journey may seem difficult now, but it's precisely through it that you're being shaped for something grand. Keep trusting and moving forward, for God's best is yet to come. As we conclude this exploration of the spiritual tests faced by the chosen ones, it's important to recognize that these trials are not meant to break us, but to make us. Each test, each challenge, is a step towards fulfilling our divine purpose. The path of the chosen is not one of comfort, but of transformation. It's a journey that requires courage, perseverance, and above all, faith. But for those who endure, the rewards are beyond measure: a deep, unshakable connection with the divine, a life filled with purpose, and the ability to be a light in a world that desperately needs it. Remember, you are not alone in these tests. Throughout history, countless souls have walked this path, leaving behind wisdom and encouragement for those who follow. More importantly, the very one who calls you also walks beside you, providing strength, guidance, and love every step of the way. As you face your own spiritual tests, whether they be ones of self-discovery, letting go, faith, love, or awakening, know that each trial is crafting you into the person you were always meant to be. Embrace the journey, for it is through these challenges that your true spiritual identity emerges. In the words of a sage, the fire that tests the gold also refines it. So too, these spiritual tests refine the chosen ones, revealing the divine gold within each soul. As you continue on your path, may you find strength in knowing that you are being prepared for a purpose greater than you can imagine. Your journey as one of the chosen is not just about personal growth, it's about becoming a catalyst for change in the world. As you overcome each test, you become better equipped to guide others, to offer hope in darkness, and to demonstrate the transformative power of faith. So press on, chosen one. Your trials are not in vain. With each step, with each overcome challenge, you're not just changing yourself, you're changing the world. The light within you, refined by these tests, has the power to illuminate the path for countless others. If you feel that God has something special for you, continue to seek wisdom and understanding about the path of the chosen. Share your experiences, support others on similar journeys, and always remain open to the lessons each test brings. May your faith be strengthened, your love deepened, and your spirit awakened as you navigate these profound spiritual tests. Remember, the greatest chapters of your story are yet to be written, and through these trials, you are being prepared to write them with divine purpose and power.